about, as Aboriginal people, the relationships that we have in our ceremonies and our prayers, we often hear, all my relations. In our language, we say, Yaya, that's the all of the living people. We acknowledge. We acknowledge because the human has a direct interaction with all of them. The human being is different than the rest of them in one way. It doesn't have the intelligence that they have. We're a lot dumber. We have to be taught things. They already know everything that they need to know to be interdependent, to be healthy, to work together, to collaborate together. They already know when they got to go south and when they come back. They already know, like those salmon, when to start heading up the river to bring that food back for us. Our people, human people, have to be taught every single thing they know. They know nothing when they're born. They have no knowledge when they're born. And if they're not taught some things about that relationship, about those interactions and how we have to be a part of that and be responsible to that, because we're a part of this planet and we're a part of nature, and how we should use our knowledge, our brains, what we know, then we don't do it right. If we don't know that the things we're doing is causing everything to fall apart, everything to get sick, everything to die, and everything to become chaotic, if we don't understand that, and we don't know what to do about it, and what our responsibility needs to be, then we destroy ourselves along with all those other things, and that's what's happening. So it requires that whole system knowledge of those relationships. And for now, it's indigenous peoples who still have some of that in their languages, in their ways of doing things, in their spiritual practices. Because it's been lost for generations in other cultures that have been removed from that kind of indigenous experience. Everybody was indigenous in places all over the world. And that experience can be rekindled, it can be recovered, it can be re-implemented. So knowledge alone is not enough. It's wisdom that makes the difference. Wisdom means if you have the knowledge, then you apply it the right way for the right reasons. You don't just apply it to outdo your neighbor or to have more than that guy. You apply it for the betterment of all. And all means all those living things, not just the human being, not just the selfish human child, the child from all the rest of the old things that have been there way before us. This is one of the ceremonies we have in the early spring. This is my brother's hands there. You can see my hands in the corner. And one of our grandsons. And he's talking to him about this medicine. This is a really important medicine. But it's a food also. A lot of people go out in the spring and gather this food, but it changes what we understand is our chemistry, from eating dry foods in the wintertime to green foods in the springtime. And it helps us to understand how that works. And it helps us get rid of toxins in our stomachs and so on like that, right, that we might have accumulated over the wintertime. And so every year when we go out to get these foods, it's a food, but it's also a medicine. We explain it, we talk about it, we give the name for it, we have the ceremony for it. Those are things that are not being done. You go to the supermarket and you buy the cheapest thing, and who knows where it came from or where it grew or what it's about. Our foods and our connection to our land has to be in place for us to respect that land, to respect where it came from, and that's part of science. I wanted to talk a little bit about Aboriginal scientists and how they're transforming the way science is viewed. This is Gregory Piatti, who's one of the better-known academics and indigenous scientists. And you can see there at the bottom, there's a foreword by Leroy Littlebear. Do any of you know or are related to Leroy? Yeah, right. So you can see that this book is used in all the universities in North America to study the way that indigenous people think about some of those things I was just talking to you about. And it's something that's really cutting edge and really new and really contemporary and innovative. They're sought after all over the world to go and speak at big symposiums, to talk to scientists, to talk to world leaders. So you think about that. You think about your careers. You think about what your responsibilities are. Maybe it's not just to your community. Maybe it's to a bigger and broader audience like these men. Of course, I'm going to go to give you a full picture of him. He's talking there about, here he is, head on, Alfred. I'm going to be done in 2 minutes here. So there he is, just giving you some examples of people that have really done some wonderful things. And Leroy from your area here, I've known him all my life, and he's one of my most respected mentors. I've seen him all over different parts of the world where I do lectures as well, and I never get tired of listening to him talk. The need for that science right now. There's really good science, native science research going on about how indigenous foods and healing therapies are being viewed in mental health practice. There's a place in South Dakota that's being led by Donna LaChapelle and a medicine man that works with mind and body health and puts a big overarching clinical studies on nutrition and their values in healing the mind, you know, from depression and schizophrenia and different things that are plaguing our people. Another area is looking at land restoration and how instead of restoring land by thinking about it as a park and replanting things, we're actually in the Okanagan, in the interior, teaching scientists that if you harvest the land the way that our people harvested it, it'll regenerate. Because if you, like for instance in Yellowstone, if you take the wolves out, a part of the nature is missing. Our lands become used to how we use it. And so if you take us out of the picture, things are not growing the way that they're supposed to, because we did certain things in that land. And they're doing some really important studies on land restoration using indigenous harvesting methods to restore land. So those are areas that I just thought I'd mention to you. And like John Mohawk said, it's really not necessarily about one specific place. Re-indigenizing the world is re-indigenizing in terms of responsibility and philosophy and better practices. It's about us looking at the whole thing in the broadest of possible ways. And that was said by John Mohawk. He was one of my mentors on my committee. He passed away a few years ago. So what I wanted to leave you with is the idea that the circle of work, the circle of the relationship with our land, with our animals and the life force on the land, in this day and age is not complete without Aboriginal scientists. We absolutely need to be there. We absolutely need to have indigenous biologists, indigenous theorists, indigenous people. They need to bring their perspective with them to help change the way some of those ideas are are not irrelevant to that responsibility. So I really encourage you, really encourage you to think about it. There's more information about an Elkin Center and their ecological courses and so on over there, so I'm not going to talk about that, but I really wanted to thank you for your attention and really encourage you and hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I really enjoyed being here. Linda.